Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empower Global Coaching Ministries podcast. Be an encourager. This is your host, Clarabel Coriano, Transformational Life Coach. I am so happy you are joining us today. Hello, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure to interview our 29th guest for 2024, Carolyn J. Murphy, and she has been here before. And she's the founder and the CEO of Firm Foundations Community Outreach, LLC, a multifaceted organization established to aid individuals in navigating the aftermath of trauma. And as a survivor and overcomer of post-childhood trauma, she understands the ebbs and flows of navigating trauma. Thus, the inspiration behind her book, God, Why Did You Save Me? Caroline's goal is to help individuals shift their mindset concerning their trauma, showing them how to unshackle from the past, but also to use it as a stepping stone into a life of freedom. So today, we welcome Caroline, and the topic for today is life coaching and changing mindsets conversation. So I wanted to make it, a conversation so that with me, both you and I can speak. This is a great topic to have a conversation on. And there are four focal points that we're going to be covering. What is a life coach? What makes an effective life coach? And what does a life coach bring to the table that the clients will benefit from? And also, what are some of the important skills that a coach must have to be an effective coach? And we're going to start with self-awareness. And let me ask you the first question. How important it is for a life coach to ask probing questions, to engage the client, to be open and discuss what they are really feeling and or what they want or what they need in their lives during a session.
It's crucial. It's very important that the probing questions are encouraged the clients to reflect deeply on their current circumstances and the underlying reasons behind their choices or behaviors. So the probing questions, again, is just a deep reflection because without the honesty, without the forwardness, we can't move forward without the honesty.
A great explanation. Yes, we definitely have to meet them where they're at and set the environment for them when we meet them and connect with them and let them, because sometimes they come in with one problem and that may not be the problem that they need to work on. So it takes a little bit for them to start opening up and sharing, what really brings them to get the life coaching, and then they're going to find their own answer. So I'm going to go back to what is a life coach?
Okay. Well, a life coach is a professional who helps individuals identify their goals, overcome their obstacles, and navigate personal challenges to achieve a more fulfilling life. So it's forward thinking, forward moving.
Awesome. That's a great explanation. And I'm glad that you mentioned that forward moving. And again, it goes back to the client, what they want, the steps that they're going to be taking. It's almost like we are the guide, the compass, the facilitator, but we're just like looking into what the client is going to do, not necessarily tell them, okay, you should do this or you must do this, but allowing them to find their own answers and making those discovery that, you know what, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe if I do this, I'll, accomplish that goal. So that's a great answer. So what makes an effective life coach?
An effective life coach, active listening is my biggest thing. I call that my superpower, but also asking the powerful questions and creating a safe space for the clients to explore their thoughts and their feelings.
Great, thank you. Yes, definitely. We have to allow the clients, like you mentioned, we have to be good listeners, like you said. And, in the clinical setting is paraphrasing, it's called paraphrasing. And we tend to, hear what the client is saying and then validate what they're saying. And with life coaching, it's a little bit of that, but it's more in terms of asking those right questions, those probing questions that can, initiate critical thinking in them. And they're going to think, okay, you know what, I should be doing this instead. And then going to ask them another question on top of what you already asked them. So that way they can continue almost like peeling that onion until they get to their answer. So that's a good explanation. So what does a life coach bring to the table that the clients will benefit from?
What does the life, I would say my lived experience and my active listening. Because the thing is not only do we want to create the safe space for them, but we want them to know that they're heard. We want them to know that it's all about them, because a
Mhm.
lot of us have lives that it's all about everybody else. And so we want them to know that they're feeling heard and validated.
Yes, that's again a really good answer. Normally, when I start a session, I have the clients like empty out all of their thoughts. And I know it sounds crazy the way I'm explaining it, but it's more like grounded. Okay, so you're here now, they because they could have come into the session with having a bad day, or perhaps something happened on the way there. So you want them to clear their thoughts and really think about, okay, now I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready to listen, and I'm ready to share. Because sometimes those things can get in the way of them venting what they need to speak about. So that's a great thing. So I want to share one little quote that I wrote in my book, Why Coaching. And coaching is not a one size fit all, or better yet said, not a fix all. Because some people feel that, okay, life coaching, maybe they'll solve all my problems, but that's not the way it goes. No, the clients have to do the work by taking the action steps in accepting accountability and becoming committed to working on themselves. They must reach self-discovery into their own healing and personal growth. It has amazing results if it's dually proactive. And like you said before, that dialogue of listening to the clients, asking those right questions, and allowing the client to come back with their own answer. So that's a really good explanation that you gave. And so I'm going to share a little bit about self-awareness, because it's not just the self-awareness for the client, it's also our self-awareness, where we're at when we meet with the client. So we have to do that self-awareness as well. We have to know where we're at. We have to be present during the session as well, because we also, like you mentioned before, we're human, right? And things can happen to us too. So we have to learn how to do that separation as well when going to the session. Or the other thing that may happen is that you may be seeing a client before the other client, and you may need to deflate from whatever you have been working on with a client to come in with a clear mind and a changed mindset to deal with a new client. That makes sense?
Yes, I agree with you because I've heard as I was going through the course, and the more I learn about being a coach, they said never just stack your clients just one on top of one. At
Mhm.
least leave 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or even 30 minutes between each client. So just like you said, we need to kind of unwind and take a drink of water, do something,
Mhm.
because it's weighty. It can be very weighty listening to people, especially when the things are kind of heavy. So especially when you're dealing with people that's in a recovery mode. So
Mhm.
it gets kind of weighty.
Yes, yes. That's good that you mentioned that. Those that work with more intensive um, specialization like trauma, clients have been in domestic violence, clients, like you said, in recovery, or clients with mental health issue. It's good to have that time to regroup. So that's an excellent observation that you mentioned. So now we're going to go discuss the needs and the values. Why is it important for a life coach to be sensitive to the client's needs, the morals, values, and their beliefs? And how this helps move them forward in their journey or their presenting problem. And I know that's a big one, but
Well, clients are unique. You already
Mhm,
know that. We're all unique and our journey is unique as well. And so when it comes to our uniqueness, it's deeply rooted in our values, our morals, and our beliefs. So that is what makes us who we are. So being
mhm,
understanding, being sensitive to their needs will help us well, for one thing, will help them to realize that we are there for them,
mhm,
and
mhm,
that
mhm,
it is a safe space. And then understanding their values will help us to create the plan that they need, based on their beliefs. Because that's the last thing you want to do is just a one size fit all. We know that
mhm,
that is
mhm.
not to
That
work.
doesn't work. That's a good explanation. So being sensitive to the client. And with this, another thing that I want to bring out to that you mentioned that I know that is really important in life coaching is that many people learn differently, and many people are visual, many people are manually, many people are by listening. So we have to be conscious, that some clients may have some kind of um, limitations in that area, like attention deficit or any other things like that. So we have to be conscious of that and also their beliefs. Now, as a Christian life coach, how will you work around like the area of beliefs and things like that?
Well, I know by me being a believer,
Mm-hmm,
and if I happen to um, have a client that's a non-Christian,
mm-hmm,
then uh, that's the purpose of the intake form. So I would do some research on their beliefs. Um, and my thing is, if it's difficult for me to not give God the glory. So
yes,
regardless of
yes.
who it is, that I mean, it's like, you know
Mm-hmm,
what I'm saying? So hopefully
mm-hmm,
they'll be comfortable with me when I have to say something that, especially when if they ask me, how did I come over or come through this? I got to give God the glory.
yes,
And
that's
so, but I
definitely.
will research their beliefs and try to acknowledge in our sessions, but I don't see me per se um, coaching anyone that's outside of Christianity.
Because we have to be true to ourselves. That's part of the self-awareness part as well. And we don't want people to be offended, but we also don't want our God to be offended by us not being able to voice this is our beliefs. So it's really important to stand firm and know this part about, Christian life coaching. And it's not to offend anyone, it's not to reject anyone, but these are our values. So that's a good point to talk about. So the next one is belief, exploring options, and taking action. And must a life coach be understanding of the clients in terms of in religion, upbringing, life experiences, and past failures? And what is the role of the life coach in exploring these options and guiding the client in developing a goal plan centered on their goal?
Absolutely. Again, the client's background, as we were kind of mentioned earlier, the background, the religion, the upbringing, the past failures, they all shape who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so during this time in the sessions, us with the active listening, we can gather that information, which again causes us to be more sensitive to their needs. So a life coach who understands these factors can tailor their approach, ensuring that the client feels supported and not judged.
Great. I like the way you said that. Judge. Yeah, because we don't, we want to be, especially being coming from a Christian background, we want to be as culturally sensitive, and also, exploring like the upbringing. And I'm going to make some mention of, why, because there's some cultures that practice some things that when may not seem normal to us, but it's part of their normalcy. So accepting that, that these individuals come from those backgrounds that to them that seem normal. And, knowing where they're coming from, their environment, how they were raised, and also how to approach the different cultures is another thing. Especially when you're engaging them and connecting with them for the first session, you want to be sensitive to their culture. And, because there's some cultures that you cannot shake your right hand, your left hand or right hand, or it boils down to even those little finer things, or look at them straight in the eye. They have to have that space to not have to be focused on you. And that's part of normalcy to them. So I just thought I mentioned that. And great explanation. So is there anything else that you want to elaborate for coaches in terms of handling the engagement piece, setting goals, or uh, helping them take action, and closure with them, like when they get to a level of closure, like when they've been accomplishing their goals, they're almost at the end of their um, sessions. How do you figure out if they're going to continue? What will you do? How you will engage them in that part? And
Well,
I leave it up to
that's
you.
a that's a good one because I think about some of us, we learn to, even though we seek the help we need, sometimes we become so dependent on the
Mhm.
person. So to me, throughout the sessions, consistently validating that they're the ones that's making the choices, not me.
Mhm.
And they're the one who have to learn to trust their instincts.
Mhm.
And so I believe if we consistently do that
Mhm.
throughout the sessions, the weaning off of us won't be so hard.
Yes, because the person will become empowered. Uh, during the session, we validate them. They're the ones that, making those self-discovery, celebrating those self-discovery, and saying, you have been progressing. When you started, you were here. Now look at you, you're here. And then start working on that planning, like, okay, you're doing so well, you got it all together. Now it's time for you to fly. Let's say like a bird, you let them fly. So that's really important, that course of action that they're going to be taking, once they finish with the life coaching, is just as important as well. So the last question that I have is, as a role model and Christian mentor, how do you want to encourage all the listeners of this podcast on this day? And can you share a word of encouragement for the listeners who may be experiencing maybe some doubts if this is what they want to do, or if they want to be a life coach? What will you encourage them? What maybe perhaps where should they align themselves to, or in terms of schooling, mentorship, and any other thing that has to do with life coaching?
Well, I know for me, this when it comes to being a life coach, that's a calling.
Mhm.
And I always tell people now that God is really solidifying to me is that you need to be, your relationship with Him needs to be cultivated. You need to be
Mm,
actively cultivating your relationship with the Lord because He will let you know if that's what you are to go into.
mhm,
Um, and so once the Lord has validated that
mhm,
for you, then there's the research. There is and then the research itself can become overwhelming because when I was doing
mhm,
my research of becoming a coach, it was overwhelming to find out there was just a vast amount, just different coaches. And so it was like, okay, Lord, you got to help me because I don't know what. And so I
mhm,
finally realized when I was
mhm,
looking at the different programs, um, well, it was just a no-brainer to become a Christian life coach because that's who I
mhm,
am. And then once you decide what type of coach you are going to be, then you have to look at the fact, are you going to be transformational? Are you going to be a business coach? I mean, it's just so many out there, but that
mhm,
all really depends on the skill set that you bring.
mhm,
So that's my thing is look at your skill sets, look at your spiritual gifts, and
mhm.
then, like I said, most of all, consult the Holy Ghost.
That's a great encouragement, and I'm glad that you mentioned that seeking God first. And when I started, I'm going to share a little bit of how when I started, I did the same thing. I started researching, and I took my first course in NLP. And while it was a really good, very insightful, it wasn't what I needed and what God was leading me to. But I have paid for it and I finished it. It does deal with behavior. It does deal with body language, tone, and things like that. So it was really very interesting. And like you said, you mentioned asking God. I was praying on it, and then I decided that life coaching school. And I went to 1 year life coaching school, and again, I was hoping that it would be kind of neutral, but the experience was great because I was able to bring that Christian perspective, and they validated it, and they I wasn't, how you say, pushed down or neglected. In fact, many of the students that I was coaching, respected my insights. And because I always, like you said, always put God first, always spoke about God. So it turned out to be a great experience, even though, with people with other alignments in their coaching, it was very helpful. So, I went to the school. It was great. I did very well. And like you said, you start analyzing what area should I go? What is it? And at that point, I was just going to be a life coach, just general life coach. But I see that it has been, life coaching has changed. I would say from 2015 that I took my 1 year, 2017 I graduated. It was like a year and a half. And it has changed, because it's more specialized now. So just like clinical, they have to specialize in one area. Before it was like more general, and so I learned about that. So while I was, waiting on God and putting God, at first in my life, I started doing the research and I wrote the book from all my research. So this is everything you want to know about being a life coach. Um, and it helped me a lot, me researching and writing. And I learned a lot about the whole concept of life coaching, what it's not, what you need. And as a life coach, I wanted to help people don't go through everything that I went through. That's why I wrote the book. because it is a journey. It is a journey. It's a progress, and there's a lot it entails. So I wanted to make it easier for others when they start their journey. So life coaching it's a calling. You're helping people. It's the same thing like if you're working, not the same thing exactly, but like if you're working in the clinical setting, right? You have to come in with that mindset. The clients are first, have your boundaries and everything else, except it's a little bit different. It's more of a personal process. So what will be one lesson from your journey that you have learned that has helped you in this life coaching journey?
Well, me being a new life coach, the journey has been really learning more about me. And when I say that, and that goes back to the self-awareness, um, because I'm a recovering perfectionist and overthinker.
Mhm.
And so the thing is that I need to admit that and I need to deal with that.
Mhm.
And so, because I don't want to put that off on any of my clients, I don't want
Mhm.
them to look at me and feel like, does she know what she's talking about? So, trust that you're doing the right thing. When you finally decide that you want to be a life coach, you've done the research, and you've accepted the calling. That's the biggest thing. You've accepted
Mhm.
the calling. And then pray about even where to go to school. Because I remember in my search, I was like, well, Lord, who do you want me to go under?
Mhm.
And so the Lord said, well, I'm going to direct you to this person, and not many days henceforth. So I just
Mhm.
stopped what I was doing. I just stopped and I just trusted him. And not many days, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and picking up my phone and looking at YouTube, and the
Mhm.
woman that he wanted me to go under, I just looked at her and I was like, this is her. This is her. And so trust the journey, but truly trust the Holy Ghost.
Yes, very important. Thank you that you mentioned that. It's very important to put God first. And that's one of the emphases that throughout my book I put, my journey has been a little bit different because I went to that school, but the school was as an accredited school. So it was worth the money, it was worth the lesson. And I learned a lot about the whole structure of like coaching and things like that. Mentorship is also very important. Like you said, finding, um, that right life coaching, if it's a Christian life coach that you want to be mentoring under. And so far, it has been amazing to connect like with you and other people from Facebook that are working on the same, goals of life coaching. You learn from everyone. You learn a little bit from whatever else everyone is doing, which is very important. So it's good to have those mentors because they also help you stay grounded. Um, and also for the Christian life coaching, you want to connect with, I believe it's the Christian Institute, and if you want to get accredited as a Christian life coach. So that's one of the things that, I'm working now because not because you want more, more certification, but because it helps you. You have a group of people that are going to be mentoring. They're going to teach you how to apply biblical principles, so that way you can coach in that Christian style. So that's another, recommendation that I make for individuals that want to go into the Christian life coaching. Any other thoughts, any other encouragement that you want to share with the listeners? I know that you work with trauma and mental health, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so for someone that wants to do that, with working with the mental health population, what would you recommend to them?
Uh, Everything we just stated, but especially being on your own healing journey. And one of the things that I have learned that the Lord is going to allow you to know that your testimony can help others.
Mm-hmm.
That's your indication to move forward into whether it's Christian counseling or whether it's Christian life coach. But not until then, because
Mm-hmm.
some of us try to rush our journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last thing you want to do because you can traumatize someone else with your trauma. So if you're not ready, don't move forward until the Lord let you know. But one of my signature phrases is that your purpose is greater than the pain.
Yes.
And that is something that I hold on to almost daily because a lot of times we're still having to deal with um, the triggers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, very important that you mentioned that. Definitely have to be constantly working on ourselves and taking additional training as well. I would recommend, especially the areas that you want to go into, get, certifications and, the more training that you have, the better because it helps you understand. And even, Christians training. And I have been investing in that area, taking more uh, trainings that can help me become more self-aware. Trainings also help with some things that you have gone through in the past and they help you heal. It's like a life coach always needs a life coach. So that's one of the things that I learned in school, that you have to continue. It's not going to be like forever, but you're going to take breaks in between because of course it becomes costly, and obtain your coaching and your mentoring to help you get to that level that you have to get. And know when, like, let's say, for instance, I know we have a few minutes and I want to be as brief as possible, but if a coach has any kind of, like you said, mention the triggers, know the space that the person is in, and know how to make closure, because sometimes it is not healthy to like open up wounds and not have those closure. Just like in the clinical setting, you can work with a client. If you're not a licensed clinician, you can work with a person that has any kind of major traumatic situation going on, because if you open a door that you're not able to close, and that becomes a liability. So we recommend for the life coach to also know that if someone presents in that manner, they have to refer them out. And like we do in the clinical setting as well, we have to refer them out. We have to let them be totally honest and say, look, it sounds from what you're sharing that you may need, additional resources that I can provide you because I'm limited to what I can help you with. So I wanted to leave people with that last encouragement, that, we have to pay attention to that too, because people may present very well, but may need other things. And I had a client that was in that level, and I had to refer them out. Um, So I thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate all of your insights, your encouragement, and your expertise. And I thank you. And this has been amazing.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank